Two of football's biggest names lead the 360 agenda tonight. One is back in the country and one is back in the studio. Hurdy's back at home and, of course, so are the media. But what should he and Essendon do next? Would the real Collingwood please stand up? The coach, Nathan Buckley, will be here ahead of the Magpies' biggest game of the year. And when is it time to call it a day? McClure and King will discuss the future of our ageing stars, who should stay and who should go. Welcome to AFL 360. It is a very, very busy night tonight. Nathan Buckley, Brett Kirk and, of course, King and McClure and Mark Robertson with us.
Hello, Hutto. How are you? Very
well. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight. I've been looking forward to it most of the day. I put on Twitter this afternoon that Nathan Buckley's coming into 360. God. A lot of replies. A lot of Collingwood supporters out there.
What do they want to know?
Oh, they want to know a lot, so I'm not going to give it away. We'll ask Bucks when he comes on. But, it's fantastic for him to come in.
Who do you love, Robbo?
Well, I love a lot of things about football. I love a lot of football. There's one footballer at the moment who stood up in Joe Watson's absence. His name is Dyson Heppell. And I don't want you to listen to me. I want you to take on board what Robert Murphy said to us off screen last night. And I hope he doesn't mind me saying it. But we're talking about this bloke because Murphy played against him on the weekend. And we're talking about when Wallace went off and how Heppell got away and really changed the game. And I said to him, he so reminds you of Scott Pendlebury. And Murphy said, mate, he is so similar to Scott Pendlebury. And we all know what we all think of Scott Pendlebury as a footballer. This guy has got so many similar traits. His ability to find the ball in traffic and ability to get space in traffic and his decision-making and his ability to get the ball to his teammate is so Pendlebury-like. He is in such rare form with Watson gone.
Well, I was going to say, he's done it in the absence of the...
Well, you've got to stand up. Yep. And we'll ask Buckley about this later when leadership, when people go down, people have to step up. At Essendon, one of them has certainly been Dyson Heppell.
He certainly has.
What about you? Who do you love?
Well, I love the fact that the big forwards kick goals on the weekend. We know a lot's been said about Jake Carlisle and about Jared Waite. And it also, because 8 goals to Carlisle and Waite came back with 5. Stringer popped up with 5 and even Stanley kicked 3 early for the Saints. But we're going to have a Coleman medal probably won by someone who's kicked about 65 to 70 goals. To me, it's not enough. It's just so good when the big forwards kick big bags of goals. And I don't want to go into what needs to be done to the game now, but I think we've got to...
Go on, I'll go get a cup of coffee and you tell me what has to be fixed.
We've just got to keep talking about it because we need the big forwards to have the chance to take those big marks.
Who was your hero when you were growing up? The midfielder who had a lot of the ball?
Well, it was actually.
Who?
It was Bruce Nankervis from Geelong. It doesn't fit. It doesn't really fit. Geelong didn't have big goal kickers in those days, right? Who was your hero?
Doug Wade was gone before you were a whippersnapper, wasn't he? So
anyway, that ruins that argument a bit, Robert.
No, but it's true. I mean, when you're a kid, you follow your team, but you just don't follow them. You followed Lockett and Dunstall, and you followed Gary. Everyone followed Gary Ablett Senior. I mean, that's just how it was. Everyone loved, all kids loved the big goal kickers. Good point.
No doubt. All right, well, let's hope we keep seeing plenty of goals. All right, well, as we said, Nathan Buckley's going to join us shortly. But first, the other major news item of the day was James Hird and his return to the country. He flew in early. It didn't take too long, though, for the media to find him. And James didn't have too much to say, but I think he made his intention pretty clear.
Morning, how you going?
James.
How are you guys?
James, are you going to head straight back to Essendon?
Not right now, but I intend to go back
when your suspension expires.
Yeah, I can't wait to be back and look forward to heading back to Essendon.
Will you have anything to do with the round 23 match when you're allowed to?
I haven't caught up with Bomber yet, but we'll catch up now I'm back and look forward to getting back to the club as soon as I can. So have a good morning, guys.
Is that something you'd like to do?
Definitely, yep. Have a good morning.
So Hurdy seems pretty keen to get involved at the club, and captain of the Bombers, of course, Joe Watson, his father, Tim Watson, has also made his thoughts pretty clear on the matter tonight.
Should James Hird return to the club as soon as his suspension ends?
Well, Mitch, I think he can return to the club, but not as the coach or on the coaching panel until Essendon's season has wound up. The 2014 team, I think, has become Bombers' team, and I think he and the team deserve to see it through together without the possibility and the probability of more distractions. Now, the moment the season ends, Hurdy can be placed back in charge as the senior coach. Look, he still can be at the club every day working on list management, planning for next year, studying tape, looking at prospective draft choices, talking to prospective recruits. In fact, I think that would be a great advantage for the club as it and he prepares, Mitch, for 2015.
Strong from Tim. How would Hurdy feel seeing that, do you think?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to Hird.
You haven't?
Since he's been back? No, he's only been back 24 hours.
Okay. There's plenty of
have you spoken to him?
No, I haven't. No. I wasn't there this morning.
No. I'll tell you, there's one thing I do know. There's a lot of talk about James Hird being a distraction. Hird coming back to his club, if that is a bigger distraction than everything that went on last year, I'll go he. I think strong clubs, and this is, I'm putting on the Essendon Football Club here, and if it wasn't Hird and Essendon, if it was Buckley an issue at Collingwood, or, you know, for example, a lot of people said Chris Jarran shouldn't play this week because he was carrying on with Buddy Franklin. The club makes a decision. The Essendon Football Club should make the decision and not give a brass razoo what anyone outside the football club cares. If Mark Thompson wants James Hird back in the box and the players believe that James Hird can contribute on a match day basis, that's the most important thing, isn't it? If you're going to pander to what possibly could be a distraction, well,
do you think
strong, isn't it?
Do you think it would be a distraction?
Is it?
Well, Tim's point is that it's Bomber's team. And
yeah, it is Bomber's team. It is Bomber's team. What if the roles were reversed and Bomber come back? Would Hird say, Bomber, come and help? You know footy. You've got a pretty good football brain. You know the players. I think Hird would say yes. Distraction. I don't know what a distraction is. The whole world's a distraction at the moment. It is. Yeah. It is, mate. The whole. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. It's internal. The players listen to the people internally. Don't listen to what you can't control. If people want to make it a distraction outside and say, oh, look, we're taking photos of Hird, that's a distraction, well, be strong, Essendon, and say, we don't care what you think. We're trying to win football games. Now, if they also decide that's not a good idea, come at it and say it. Don't let it drag on, Essendon.
Well, I was going to say,
make the decision in the next 36 hours.
Hird's come back early, but you would think they would act really quickly, and then James... Look, he doesn't need to speak anymore, other than if the decision's made, he can say something quickly, and then he doesn't need to...
He doesn't have to speak.
He doesn't speak when the camera's outside his house anymore. Just smile and keep on going.
Well, how long do the cameras stand outside his house?
Yeah.
When does it get non-news that Hird's back? When is it?
Well, I think it's probably when we know a decision.
I would suspect in the next 24 hours, if they haven't already, Mark Thompson and James Hird will have spoken, and if they have, they would probably speak again tomorrow, and they'll nut down and they'll talk to the board, and I would imagine in the next 36 hours there will be a release from Essendon saying, this is what's going on. See you later, everyone.
Yep. I think you're right. I think you're right.
Really strong club, don't you?
Yep.
You've got to stand on your own 2 feet.
No, I agree. I think they do. But it is important that they do make that decision pretty soon. All right. Well, it's D-Day for Collingwood on Sunday when they take on the Adelaide Crows at the MCG. It's been an interesting year for the Pies, to say the least. They've had some really good wins, but in recent times, some very disappointing losses. So, come Sunday night, we might know what is the real Collingwood.
And fair to say this could be the low water mark in Nathan Buckley's coaching career. Just looking at him in the box there, nonplussed. Normally always has something upbeat, something good to find. But this would be, I think, testing even his resources.
We weren't strong in the contest, so we were outworked, out-hustled. We were pretty well dismantled. Our effort was really poor. Our execution was poor. We didn't have enough blokes that were working for their teammates.
When you do look at our best, we're a very good team. A premiership, we're capable of winning a premiership, but we've got to play very good football.
Jamie mentioned our best football being good enough, and we believe that. If we didn't believe that, we wouldn't be worth rocking up. Our finals are 6 weeks away for us if we qualify, if we earn the right. Whatever happens to us, to the Collingwood Football Club in season 2014, will be dictated by our next 6 weeks. We can't do anything about what's brought us to this point, but ultimately we'll get what we deserve and what we earn, and we're very conscious of that and looking forward to the opportunity to earn.
And the coach, Nathan...
Picking fights already.
What's he saying?
Oh, I'm not saying.
OK. The coach is here with us. Nathan, thanks for joining us. Do you know what the real Collingwood is?
Oh, it's us. Yeah, it's what we're presenting right now, and we had some really solid form early in the year. Going into the year, our list was going to need a couple of areas to be fortunate in, and that was we were going to need good form from our established senior players and an even run with injury, and we haven't had either of those. And we've been through a rough patch, but we're still in the hunt.
What about the recruits as well? I mean, for example, Jesse White, Carlo Adams, they were going to be part of that, injury, good form from the senior player. That, on the surface, that hasn't probably worked as well as you thought, or not?
No, if we were recruiting for 12 months, you would say that, Jesse, his form could have been better. But he played one of his better games for the year in our worst performance last week, or 2 weeks ago. Taylor's a young player. He's played 2 years at GWS. You look at his number of games and you think, well, someone had to play up there, didn't they? So, but he's a talent, and he's going to continue to improve and to perform. He's a professional young man, and we've got to give him a bit of slack in his third season.
You said you didn't see it coming against the Bombers. Have you? You've had time. You've had a week off. Have you, from playing at least? I'm sure you haven't from the job. Have you seen stuff now, looking back, that you didn't realise at the time?
Oh, look, we were really poor against Fremantle in round 1, and we haven't put in an effort like that until round 17. So you hadn't seen it, because even in our losses, even the Western Bulldogs game, we were clearly very keen to go and win that game. I thought the Bulldogs in their form since have showed that they're no easy beats, and we got pipped there. The Gold Coast game was disappointing, second half in particular, but our effort across 4 quarters against Essendon was an outlier compared to the rest of the season.
So tell us, if you can, what's been addressed? What did you do with the players? Straight away you would have reviewed the game, and then you can't weigh them down, I imagine, too much, because they've got to go away for a break. Did you send them anywhere, or did they go off? And when they came back, how did you approach dealing with the game, and I suppose rediscovering their want for the way that you want them to play, their want for each other, their hunger for the contest, all those little intangibles in footy that are so important? Yeah,
well, we went through review as per normal. We're talking about 10 days ago now, mate, so you're taking us back a fair way.
Sorry.
But that's it. I mean, we've moved on. We're looking.
How quickly did you move on? Before they went on the break?
Well, we definitely a long time ago. We're projecting forward against Adelaide and our opportunity on Sunday, because if in a season you spend too much time looking at why you were so good in wins, or you spend too much time looking at why you were so bad in losses, you get caught in the past.
So okay,
I've got to take the lessons from it. We took the lessons from it within 48 hours, and then we moved on.
Has the playing group shown to you in dealing with them since you've got back and preparing for Adelaide? Can you detect it? I know it's difficult. You get asked this all the time. Can you detect anything different in the players?
Oh, we've had a really good training week. We trained really well on Monday.
What does that mean, though? What does that mean? Voices, movement. What's a good training night to you?
It means we train well, mate. It means we go out with energy and enthusiasm.
That's what
we execute our skills, and we defend the way that we want to defend, and we're communicating to each other in our patterns. So I mean, that's what a good training night looks and feels like. So the boys came off a 4-day break, which is slated by the AFL PA over the bye. We had meetings and reviews and some light sessions early last week, but we had a really solid session Monday. We had a really upbeat session today, and we'll go into Friday's session to round off our prep against a side that's playing some pretty good footy, and but we believe that if we bring the type of footy that we're capable of, that we displayed for the most part, and especially early in the season, that we'll be in the hunt.
Has it been a challenging period for you as coach? I don't want to go back, because you don't want to go back, but the last time we all saw Collingwood, we saw a performance which was unlike Collingwood. Yeah. Really, and we look at it and think, OK, what does the coach do now to get that team out of that and back into that hunger level, energy level? Has it been a challenge for you to do that this week, or
nothing comes easy? No. So when you're in good form, that's not easy. It's obviously weight of numbers performance from the players, the right structure and tactics from the coaches, and the synergy between both, really. And it's also a product of what your opposition bring to the table. You can have what looks like a good win from the surface, but the opposition might not have played well that day. you can have a poor loss, and I reckon we didn't play well against Essendon, but Essendon's pressure and their consistency over 4 quarters was as good as we've faced all year. So that needs to go into the mix as well when we go and review. But ultimately, you've just got to be better than your opposition on the day. We've achieved that 9 times this year, and we haven't been there 7 times. 3 of those within 2 goals. So as I said, we've been largely competitive, but round 1 and round 17, the bookends of our season, have been poor, and I happen to be sitting here after one of those.
I know you've been regenerating in the last couple of years, but Nick Maxwell's now retired. We're not going to see Dane Swan for at least a month or so. Is this now Scott Pendlebury's team? Is it the next step in the transition from this starting this week?
Yeah, well, everyone likes to put nice, clean lines on things, on transition periods, and it doesn't happen like that. There's an evolution, and there's an undercurrent that builds, and Pendles needs to be behaving in a certain manner, leading in a strong manner to warrant a captaincy. I mean, he doesn't just get it because he's the best player on our list. He gets it because of his leadership attributes and the way he influences his teammates. And he's been brilliant in the way he's gone about it. He's been one really strong, consistent part of what we've produced this year, on and off the field, and his leadership grows and grows. And the question now, or the responsibilities now on Steele side bottom, Tyson Goldsack, Alan Tuvey, Travis Cloke, these players to stand up and become stronger leaders in the void that Maxi's going to leave. You
said today that which is obvious, I guess, that your 2014 will be determined by your performances in the last 6 weeks. How important is 2014 and making the finals in terms of the big picture?
Oh, look, I think every team, every club will have an idea of. I mean, people talk about premiership windows. I mean, in the end, you should be in a premiership window every year you play, because I do believe that if you get the best out of your list and you play and you optimise the talent on it and you have a fair run with injury, you should be a top 8 side, regardless of where you start the season. And I'd even say that GWS and Gold Coast are showing that their best football is good enough to be top 8. Is top 8 form. We believe that. We believe that. I believe that, and that's what I coach around. We definitely see this year as a platform to continue to grow. I mean, if you look at the profile of our list, it's clearly going to be better year on year over the next 3 years.
But that's what a lot of people are saying, weren't they, at the start of this year?
Yeah, and that's great. But that's great. But I'm not going to. I mean, we're not going to put anything off till next year. We're currently in the 8. We currently have the opportunity to perform our way further into it. And we believe if we can get our form up and running, that that we're going to be a danger if we qualify. But we've got to get there first. And it starts on Sunday.
Would it be a setback to your beliefs and what you know if you don't make the finals this year?
We want to. We want to win on Sunday. So we've got to perform on Sunday to get that done. As I said, we come up against an opponent that are pretty keen to do the same thing on the other side of the equation. But and then beyond that, that's when it all adds up. I mean, clearly, I'll be able to let you know in 6 weeks' time whether we feel like we've performed well in this next period or whether we haven't, and that'll really sum up our season. I'm hoping that I'm still around to tell you how much we're looking forward to finals. But that, as I said, it'll be a product of the actions that we display, not of the words I tell you now.
This is a hypothetical, and I know it's difficult to answer. If the season ended right now, would you consider this season thus far to be a failure or a success?
Given our recent form, it would be a failure, yeah.
Again, I don't know if this is right or wrong, because footy's such a movable feast. Collingwood people who got a slight against your Buck say, God, he's taken over a grand final premiership team and it's gone to 4th to 8th, and now we're teetering. At the start of the year, you speak so positively about your team. It's always glass half full, which coaches have to do. A lot of us and people who have to comment about football and say, we don't know where Collingwood is at the moment. I put you as 8th. I didn't know where you were going, up or down, and you're right there right now. And I try to think to myself, is that where you are and you're building for the next couple of years? So you positive to try and keep your players motivated, or are we close to reality saying they're on the slide before they go up again?
I'm absolutely optimistic about our chances, short term, medium term, long term. I mean, we've got we've got enough talent on the list. You know, we've got enough exposed, experienced talent.
Then what's going on? What's going wrong then?
The balance isn't right for us at the moment, and we haven't performed well enough. We haven't had enough players play well enough week in, week out over the last 5 weeks, and that's because our form in the first 7 rounds was really strong. I mean, we were performing above others' expectations, and that rose expectations.
That rose our expectations, no doubt.
Which is fine. I've got no problems trying to reach high expectations. I was rapt to hear Jamie Elliott speak yesterday and talk about his ambitions for himself and for this team. We're not going to cap what we're capable of, and whilst that might bring questions externally, that's largely irrelevant, because our motivations and our hopes and dreams, our aspirations and the actions that follow that are more important than anything.
You talked about the balance. How important is the return of Ben Reid to the balance? Is he going to be forward or back? I'm sure you haven't been asked that question at all this year.
No, I've never thought about that, have you?
No, I have been asked that more and more in the pre-season when he was potentially going to be fit. You know, we wouldn't have thought that it was going to be until round 18 when he was available. And
crazy.
You know, it's not an ideal preparation for him coming into this game, but he's going to be important for us if he gets through training Friday. You know, Jamie Elliott back in the side after missing with a hammy will be important, and you know, we'll see some fresh young faces come into our team as well.
Look, can you ask too much of Reid? Missing 17 weeks, and I know he's been training.
We're not expecting him to come on and be best on ground. We don't expect any of our players to do that. I mean,
surely he's playing forward though to get that. Travis,
is he?
I'm asking you.
Oh, I can't tell you.
Yes, he is.
I can't tell you. One thing, you know what I can tell you? Yeah. We'll have a couple of list changes that'll go into the AFL tomorrow. So Kyle Martin will be upgraded from the list.
Can I ask you about him?
Matt Scharenberg will come off the long-term injury list.
Is he a chance to play? He's going to play
game in the VFL this weekend.
That's good news.
And Jack Frost, who has been up, down, up, he sort of gets moved around, but he comes back onto the senior list, and obviously as a rookie player at the beginning of the year, we've been ecstatic with what he's been able to produce for us.
Are you guys going after James Frawley? And if yes, has Collingwood come to an agreement with James Frawley?
No, it's not an appropriate discussion point now.
Would you be interested in James Frawley?
You know, we'd look at any player that we thought was going to better our list. You think you know something?
Yeah, I do. That's why no, I don't. That's why I'm asking you. Oh, I got told that Collingwood are going after James Frawley.
Who told you?
I asked Jared Whaley that once. He said, I don't ask you your sources, so don't ask me. I was told that Collingwood are going after James Frawley, and I said, I would imagine they would. Well, he's a key defender.
Even if no one had told you, you'd say that, wouldn't you?
I would ask you.
Get away with it, yeah.
No, but at least I asked you. I didn't write it, I asked you.
Oh, I gave you the answer.
No, you didn't.
What about Swanee? And I guess the injuries in general, Nathan. You had a number of players who have re-injured ailments, and obviously Ben Reid. How frustrating has that been? And
yeah, look, it's a concern. You know, we haven't. You know, I feel like our injury profile over the last 4 years, really, the end of 2011 wasn't great. Through 12, 13, and now 14 has been poor. And you know, if you want to be a good club, we've got to get that right. So we have asked ourselves those questions internally over the last couple of years, and it can't be just bad luck. So there's some things that we need to continue to work on and to build in our conditioning and rehab areas. And you know, as I said, we want to. You'd love to have access to Reedy before round 18. You know, Dane Beams last year for the basically first 15, 16. Scharenberg and Freeman. Yeah, but we knew where Scharenberg was with his feet, and it's going to be exciting to see him up. But not every club has access to all their players at all times, but we'd like to, you know, do a little bit better than we're doing at the moment.
We saw you as a player and you're really demanding, and we see you as a coach you're really demanding. Again, back to the game and the 2 weeks building up. The feeling at Collingwood, does it start from the top? Does Eddie Maguire, is he really demanding of you as a coach as much as you're demanding of the players?
Well, the demand is something that we can continue to bring to each other, and where it comes from is what we're developing at the club. If you need it to come from the president or the coach, well, then the demand is an external motivator. It's something outside of you.
If you're building on
we expect our leaders to demand of each other first and foremost before they point the finger at their teammates and say, hey, we need this from you. So,
and before they point the finger at the coach.
Well, I think if you go back to the most successful, sustainable teams over recent history in particular, they'll be the ones that demanded the most of each other internally and had really strong leadership through a playing group. We're working to develop that. We haven't had that for a long time at the club, and that's going to be our challenge to continue to build that, because I'm absolutely positive that that'll underpin our chances of success going forward.
Nathan, thanks for coming in. Massive game on Sunday. You've got a big night coming up on the 27th as well, the Collingwood Forever Gala. Yeah,
look, that's obviously every person that's representing the Collingwood Football Club is invited due to the fact that they're still living. But we'll also be recognising significant incidents and events of the history of the football club. I think the supporters would love to be involved in it, regardless of the current affairs. And obviously, that's a month down the track. Hopefully, we're gearing up for another final series, and they can celebrate the current form of their team as well.
August 27 at Crown is that event. Nathan, thanks for coming in.
Thanks,
and good luck on the weekend and for the rest of the season.
Close talker, isn't he?
Close talker.
Am I in your face? You're a close talker, mate.
He's a lot of things. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll bring King and McClure in. There's plenty to chat with them as well.
McClure is up high and tops a beautiful mark. Oh, beautifully plucked in by David King.
Shots on goal as well. Good third man up, Gibbs going. Yep, he's done it again. A second goal as he did earlier tonight.
Blues just need to scrounge a goal here. Currently lead by 7 points. Robinson over the top, got it to Gibbs, and there it is.
How many times you done that?
Third man up, Robinson to Gibbs around the corner. The Blues have a bit of breathing room.
Robinson wins the tap down to Gibbs. He snaps. Oh, he goes! He's done that before, tonight and many times over his career.
We all think they're tiring, but a goal here, and who knows, they might be able to hang on. The third up came to Gibbs, and this could be it! It could be! It is!
Jeez, that's a great step.
Bryce Gibbs!
Robinson, second man up, aimed up Bryce Gibbs.
Gibbs snaps the goal, and Carlton lead by 13.
Time to bring in Mark McClure and David King.
See that? He picked the quad call.
He put his own call in. He does.
He rang up and said, I've called this one really well. Just pick the...
I'm only doing what Jared told me to do.
5 minutes, and look what you've done.
Welcome, boys. Well, mate, you were pretty savage on Mick and the Blues last week. What did you make of their performance and how Mick responded?
Oh, I thought they played really well. It's taken 18 weeks to get there. That's one of the major problems. I thought that's the best they played. And as a team, we expect from Mick Malthouse, coach side, is a total team. And we haven't seen it, which is annoying for everybody who barracks for that club. So for that reason, I thought it was a terrific night out. They beat a good side. The first time they've actually knocked one over. And can they follow on? This week's more important than last week, to go over to Perth and see if they can do it again. So for mine, that's about it.
4 quarters effort, Kingy, and they were challenged in the third, and they went away again. It's a sign of... Tell me, what is it a sign of?
Oh, I thought they had great leaders on the night. I mean, we've watched the quad call there of Bryce Gibbs. He's had a fantastic patch. You know, Waite come in, did what he's supposed to do as a leader. Juddy was thereabouts. I mean, all their key contributors were there when the whips were cracking, when they were challenged. And that's all you ask for. That's all the Carlton supporters have asked for all year, though, in fairness. Everyone says, oh, you're hard on Mick, or you're hard on the club, or you're hard here. No. They just want to see good, solid, consistent footy. And if they get more of that, they'll take the losses.
Did you hear Buckley then?
The 3 tall forwards.
Yep.
The 3 tall forwards made a big difference. You stretched their defence, and Casbolt and Waite and Henderson had a great night. If you watch it, it was fantastic because the ball came in well.
Did you hear Buckley then talk about leadership internal? You don't need the coach, you don't need the president.
No.
That's got to come internally, and you're talking about the leaders that stood up on the weekend.
Just before we leave, Carlton, does it change your opinion of them, of where they're at?
No, not for me. No, because Waite stood up. Yeah. Waite's closer to the end than the start. They've got. It's all about the next option for me, and I just think that they've missed their chance. And that's unfortunate. They've got to go through the cycle like everyone else does.
What's the message? So where do they go? So from now on, what's the next 3-year plan? That's the key for mine. And then when we start to see that, and we should see that from the new CEO and the president and the coaching staff pretty soon, because I think they're not going to win a premiership with this mob.
All right, time to turn our attention to some of the stars of the game that are making that decision or getting close to making that decision as when to call it time. Kane Cornes won't be one of those. He's already the game's record holder with 285 games at Port Adelaide, and he's going to be there for another year at least.
I'm really proud to be able to go around again. The club has, I guess, shown a lot of faith in me. I've had some great times under Kenny Hinkley and the latest group that is coming through, so I really jumped at the chance to play on when the club said that they wanted me to, so I'm wrapped. I've never been more confident in the direction of the club. We're led really well on field, we're led well off field, and there's nothing but exciting times in the future.
So Kane Cornes will be there next year. We've got a list of others for you to make your call on.
Do you reckon he's going to the Commonwealth Games in the diving?
Oh, you can't.
Come on.
It's just free sign.
Sorry.
Come on.
It's the time to play the new game. Play on, stumps, or sit on the fence.
You've got us in here to sack players.
That's what you want.
That was what Robbo asked to do, so let's get into it.
Beauty.
Dustin Fletcher first up.
Fletcher, what do we go? We go to stumps, play on, or sack him, or sit on the fence. No, always stumps for me. He's played 13 games so far this year. When they start making excuses on matchups and those sorts of things, it's a real tough one. I think he's near the end. Does the club have a responsibility to get him to 400 games because he's so close? I don't know, but I just feel like Dustin will make the right decision, and I think it'll be to pull up.
Yeah, he's going to be stumps for me too. If you've got to play another year to play 2 games because you want to get him to 400, that's the wrong reason to play. It's time to have someone else in there to learn and how to play.
It's not going to change how the footy world looks at Dustin Fletcher.
No, we love him.
Finishes on 398 or 400.
That's right.
It's a big milestone though. 400. There's 2 other players.
Were you alive when the last bloke got there? How old are you?
Well, not
I know we were.
Yeah. Well, look, I think Brent Harvey would be the next person to get there.
Yep.
That way.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. What about Chris Newman? There, he's played 11 games with the Tigers this year. 244 in all.
I reckon this is a huge 6 weeks for him, sellers. Huge. I know we disagree on this one because I think he's on a nice edge.
You just gave it away.
No, well,
that doesn't matter.
Why? Give me your glass half full.
There's 3 options, and I've gone with 1, so I haven't given anything away.
Give us your glass half full on Newman.
Well, he can't get injured again. In this next short patch, he cannot get injured. He's played 11 games this year. When you start playing 11 to 13, 14 games a year, you're in trouble. At that age, 244 games, you're gone. If his kicking goes off a fraction, he's in trouble. If he loses his speed a fraction, he's in trouble. They're looking for small signs. This is a club that's not on the verge of winning a flag. So for me, it's probably an easy decision from the club's point of view. But it's a big 6 weeks.
What do you bring next year? I ask you a question, and I can't see what he brings next year, so it's over for me.
All right, so
I'll be sitting not sitting at home watching that.
Sorry, Chris.
Good evening, Chris.
Who's next?
He's delisted too.
Who's on the chopping block?
Who's next? This'll test him. Chris Judd is next.
Well, he can give stuff. He can still give things. He can still play. He can still run. Mick wants to finish him, but I don't. I think he should stay. He has great benefit the way he trains, the way he handles himself, the way he manages his body. If he played 12 or 13 games next year, he was a great benefit to the club and to the youth coming through. So that's my thoughts on Chris.
David?
I'm a bit different. I don't think he's got anything to prove. I think it was 50-50 that he played on for this season so far. He's only played half a dozen games, or 7 games. He's got nothing to prove. What's an extra year going to do for Chris Judd? What's it going to mean to Chris? He's done it all. We're going to love this guy post-football, whatever he does. We hope he stays in football somewhere. We're not sure whether he does. He's a player that used to run on top of the ground, and now he looks like he's just going through it a little bit for me. And I just think he might call it a day.
He could.
Corey Enright, another star, of course, one of the best medium-small defenders in the business. He's played 281 games, Mark.
No, he's a star and we love him, and he's got the premierships. He's been best and fairest. He's done it all.
Best and fairest in premierships.
I know, he's done it all. He's been an absolute star. But I'm a out for me. Stumps for me. I think he'll go. I think that the time will come. He's been up a long time, and I think he's one of those guys that won't go on.
David?
I think the Cats tend to go early rather than late. And that's the only reason why I lean towards Stumps. We've seen Chapman, Hunt, Pods, these guys last year. Did they make an early call on those guys? Probably, to give the next wave an opportunity. They handle it really well. he's been a sensational player. It's not about what they've done and where they stand in the game. We all know that. It's about what does an extra 12 months do for him, and I think that they'll ask him to move on.
It's probably more about their list, isn't it, than anything about, because they have to move a certain number on over the period. But if they think they could win the flag next year, do they stick with him or not?
Well, he's 33 at season's end. It is nearly time.
His back half's been pretty good this year. Luke Ball.
You both for
well, Luke Ball, it's a hard one for me because I really like him. He's a great person. But he's getting slow. And they've got young midfielders trying to come through in that club, and they need to actually give him a chance to move on. I think he'll move on. He's got things to do. He can do things.
Right.
Smart.
What's your verdict on this first?
He's got 50 years to do those things. I think they need him. I think he's a James McDonald type. I think he's a leader that you don't need to rush out of the place. And if he played... Look, the thing I reckon with the modern game now is there's no real damage done with what Darren Glass has done, where he pulled up stumps halfway through the year. There's no real damage done. I'd be really keen to hang on to this guy just to help Scotty Pendlebury in what is a really difficult transition phase as Collingwood evolve.
Just heard Bucks then.
Yeah.
He went through all the young kids. They
need him.
They need players.
Yeah. He's played
3,
13 and 14 so far this year over the last 3 years in terms of games. So he hasn't played a lot of footy. That might go ahead.
Soft injury. He's getting softs.
Yeah. He gets lots of injuries and it's going to keep coming. So I think it's it.
He's sacked everyone except for Juddy.
Yes.
Adam about to sack myself in a minute.
That was going to be the last call.
That was ours. There goes ours.
Adam Goods.
Yeah, well... Yeah. They sacked.
Kingy first.
No, I think Goodsy's got one mad month to come, and that is it. He's had an amazing career. He can't do any more than what he's done, but his focus is a 3-goal grand final. If he can do this sort of thing in the forward 50 in short bursts, that'll be enough for him. 12 games last year, 11 so far this year. He needs to just leave it all on the floor in a September campaign. He knows that, and he'll do that.
No, I think he's shown over the last few years he's starting to get injured. So he's the 4th pick in the forward line. Now the tools, so that might be the end of him.
He might want to go on because of it.
Yeah, but that's not right.
He'll actually probably
won't be able to afford him.
Yeah, you're probably right. Speaking of the Swans, let's talk briefly about Hawthorn and Sydney. What a game.
Gee whiz, it's Hawthorn's last chance, I reckon, to make top 4. They've got to beat one of the big sides, and I think that they can. I know David thinks the other way, but I really do think they can. I think that they are a star side. They got beaten last time with less players up in Sydney, and Sydney were outstanding that night. So I actually think the Hawks will win this.
You seem to know a lot about what each other knows tonight.
We've been talking too much.
What does it mean, this match, do you reckon?
What does it mean? It doesn't really mean a lot, given that Hawthorn are still getting themselves back together. Sydney a little bit the same. They're flying Sydney. It doesn't mean a lot unless there's a big result. And a big result can be an injury to a key player, a big result can be a suspension, or a big result can be a 10-goal result.
A blowout,
and I think if there's to be a 10-goal result, it'll be in Sydney's favour, just because they're up and running and they look more complete at the moment. It doesn't mean anything for the flag, really, unless it's a big result.
If Hawthorn beat them, it doesn't mean that Sydney can't win the flag.
No.
It's just one of those days that if Hawthorn need to win, because they got such a hard run coming home.
The competition needs Hawthorn to beat them, so every other club can say, look, Sydney are beatable. You were talking about them maybe going in 18 straight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's mentally got to muck up the opposition.
Big game in Adelaide against Port Adelaide in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much the only contender they play. So if they can get over this one, it'd be great for them to go into the finals 18-0. We love that. We love the building of the tension, and they're a fantastic side.
And in a word, the other one, we heard Bucks tonight, Collingwood and Adelaide.
Well, going on what I've seen, I think Adelaide will win.
So do I.
It depends which Collingwood turn up. The desperate Collingwood. If the desperate Collingwood turn up, they can win. But Adelaide are playing a lot better.
He looked pretty determined.
Yeah, he's angry.
After the last week, wasn't he?
He was angry with Robbo talking to him like this. Hey, Bucks, what about...
Do you think I was a little bit close to him?
I thought you were just about to kiss him.
I didn't know. I was getting really into it because he's a coach and they're under pressure. And
do you think he likes you, though?
Not that close.
Is he in that large majority or is he in the minority?
The large majority likes me, or the minority who doesn't.
David,
I think I get on with Bucks okay.
Thanks for coming in, David.
He's good. He's fantastic.
All right, we're off to a break. King and McClure back next week. Brett Kirk is in next. He's now making movies.
keep the greatest game in the world a secret. Thanks guys for coming along. I understand that this at the moment is a bit of a foreign game to you, but that's okay, we've got to start somewhere.
To me, it's been a romantic notion. It would be a long, long process to convert people in other countries.
First we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin. Well, no, you're not going to take either.
This hoodie isn't on for show, it is bloody freezing. I spent yesterday in Jerusalem and now I feel like I have a greater understanding of how inspiring this team is.
If it was all just one big footy field, everything would be okay, we know that.
Special moment here on Stateside Footy. AFL superstar Brett Kirk joins us. Brett, thank you very, very much.
If you ended up with a centre half back like Muhammad Ali and a full forward like Michael Jordan, wow, you couldn't lose.
This is like the Olympics to them. It's like the World Cup of footy. When you sing with your heart and your soul. It's all about heart and soul, all right? Let's go.
Well, we all know Brett Kirk as premiership star and leader of the Sydney Swans, of course now assistant coach of the Fremantle Footy Club, but he's also become movie star and producer and evangelist for the game, and the movie Aussies Rule the World is out tonight, and Brett and director Michael McIntyre have joined us here on set. Guys, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, thanks.
Tell us about the movie and I guess the idea, the concept behind of what you've gone and put together.
Yeah, it was just an incredible adventure. The year I retired, the AFL knocked on my door and wanted me to play a role within the AFL, and I'd sort of already had the intent of going on this great adventure with my family around Australia in a caravan, and then somehow it all took different shape, and yeah, I went overseas, and Michael, the filmmaker, he came and sought me out and said, let's make a film about it, and I didn't know where it was going to go, but I've just been blown away by the passion that's outside of Australia, and a lot of it's been organic. People have found it in different ways, but what I love about the game is exactly what people overseas love about it, the way it brings people together.
How quickly, Brett, do they get the game? I mean, they obviously don't get all the intricacies of it, but how quickly does a foreigner, when they get to do a bit of this and see the ball and the way it bounces, how quickly do they get some, that grasp of the game to some degree? Yeah, well,
these images there, it just takes me back there straight away. I love that time. That was in a township in Johannesburg, and yeah, for those kids, they play this thing called Footy Wild. It's a program. So the 5 big animals are related to all different skills, and so they drop their bags, take the shoes and socks off, and away they go, and all of a sudden I'm in a handball drill and they're tribal singing, and it's like, wow, this is what the game's all about, this joy. These kids are taking their minds off whatever else is going on in their life, and they're playing footy and they love it.
What was your most memorable moment, Nick?
Oh, there's been many. I mean, I remember when we first arrived in Mumbai in India, and they didn't have any footies. So after talking to the very enthusiastic people who wanted to learn the game, Brett and I took it upon ourselves to go find them some footies. So we sought out a football factory in the north of India and secured 100 footies for them. But of course, getting anywhere in India is a challenge. In fact, there's some of the images of us in India. But just being able to secure 100 footballs when they didn't have any was a great moment. And then, of course, the film explores what happens to India when they come out for the International Cup. We'd like to take some credit for, the fact that we found them some footies,
In India, you stop and look in your book and 600 Indians will come up and ask you if you're all right. When you brought out a footy, did a lot of Indian boys, Indian men, girls, just sort of swarm to have a look at what are these Western people doing with this ob-shaped football?
Yeah, well, it was a bit like that. We arrived at this big field. I think there was 3 or 4 cricket games going on, and we squared off a 20-metre square piece of turf and a bit of dirt, and we sort of commandeered it and got the footies out. And there's one really passionate man that found the game on the internet, and he really wants to drive it in India. So he got all these guys involved, and for a lot of them, that was the first time they picked up the footy. And yeah, it was kind of like getting some soil and planting a seed. But yeah, the possibilities, who knows?
What are the possibilities then? What do you reckon now, having done all that? and what is the value in taking the game to the rest of the world?
I don't know, to be honest. What the film does explore, though, is that it creates a conversation about it and creates a conversation on should we or can it survive overseas. Whether there's a push or not, the game's growing overseas organically, and the way information's being transmitted these days, it's out there so fast, so people are finding it. And there's places I went to like Iceland, so the guy Fritz, he found it in Denmark and brought it back to Iceland. All
His
locals.
name was Fritz?
Yeah, all locals, and all said, oh, he couldn't live without it, starts a game. Same in Croatia. Found in USA, brings it back to Croatia.
What did you think of this? Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
We know what this bloke is like on the field, and I'm sure you watched him on the field. As a person talking about passion, how was his passion and behaviour taking the footy and dealing with people around the world?
Well, we weren't going to make a film with anyone as our main character, so I think we wisely chose a man like Brett to be our main character. But I guess the measure of a great person, I think, is the trail they leave behind, and the messages we have been getting from all the people that Brett was with is, when's he coming back? I mean, his influence was profound, and you know, it's like a message to the AFL that these champions of the game make a huge difference in the promotion of the game.
Paul Roos is saying that at the moment. When is Brett Kirk coming?
I mean, I will say about the AFL, like, we didn't know that the VFL would become the AFL, and then the AFL, all of a sudden, we're playing a game in Wellington. So, to me, life is imitating art a bit. Like, when we started production on this documentary, there was no games overseas. We almost couldn't believe our luck when all of a sudden the AFL announced they're going to play overseas. And all of a sudden we have this draft in America where we're recruiting Americans into the game. The next thing we will have is a lot of Americans running around playing the game. So I kind of feel like life was imitating art for us.
And Brett, you're back coaching now as an assistant. First of all, just quickly on Fremantle, what happened on the weekend?
Yeah, it was a disappointing performance. Yeah, in an effort-based game, St Kilda brought great effort and really outworked us on the weekend. So from our end, it was really disappointing. We learned some valuable lessons.
Can you be an assistant in footy, or do you think, Kirky, you've got the drive and the ability to be a senior coach?
Yeah, I'm only my second year in, so I'm just really learning the way and learning under one of the best in Ross Lyon.
But you don't do things half-hearted. I mean, you've clearly got a goal in your life when it comes to
you're right. I do things 100 miles an hour, but I do think, I feel like it's an apprenticeship for me. My brother, who's a plumber, had to do an apprenticeship before he got his licence, and I'm really learning and finding out what it takes, and obviously then after those few years, then you decide if that's strong enough in your intent.
Would you be interested in talking to Roosie then about furthering that apprenticeship?
Well, yeah, I've committed to the Dockers for the next sign for 3 years, so another year left in my contract.
Don't worry about contracts. They don't mean anything in footy, do they?
I don't know.
No, I'm only joking. You know the thing, do you know about your father? Your father lost... I remember we did the interview.
Yeah, my dad features in the film.
Does he?
I talk about...
You're talking about drive, you know. I remember when we did the interview before the grand final and you spoke about your father and the drive and your dad was there. You see it in him. Yeah. We saw it on the... I'm going over old ground, but we saw it on the field, and we see it in Kirky. He's from pretty good stock, I reckon.
Yeah, Noel's in the film, Brett's dad, and I remember Noel, there was some discussion about whether we wanted the section on Noel in or out, because often things end up on the cutting room floor, and I think he was out of the film at one stage, but everyone just kept saying, no, you've got to put Noel back in, you know, and so, yeah.
Where did you film him? Sorry, where did you film him?
Up in Albury.
Yeah. Good stuff.
The movie's out from tonight, pretty much.
Tonight.
Available in various locations around Australia. So good luck with the movie, and we hope it all goes well, and good luck for Freo for the rest of the year. Brett Kirk and Michael McIntyre, the movie Aussie Rules the World, is out and about now. Make sure you check it out. And you can check out these blokes, Hawley and Mooney, tomorrow night. Baz and Cam, they're back tomorrow.
My skin is theirs.
Camper at the back, got the simple mark. Mod. Oh! Over the back, Camper's got a great mark. Mod was going to fly at the back. Up he goes. Yes! Camper at the back, got a chance. He's got it. Modja from behind. He's got it.
Camper from behind. Well, the magic is back in the Harbour City.
Modja with a fly. He's taken
choose between our next quarter-finalists, Tony Modra and Warwick Capper. Last night, a huge upset. This has been incredibly popular on the foxfooty.com.au website. And last night, Lance Franklin versus Jason Ackermanis. Buddy was the favourite, but Acker has out-freaked Buddy.
Oh, he was a freak. These are great pairing. We saw Acker last night. He should be in the Hall of Fame, Acker.
All right, well, that sets up Modra.
Who would you pick?
Modra v Capper. Well, I want to get something before I make my decision, Robert. I want to hear from Warwick Capper.
Yeah, don't vote Modra. I was the instigator. He copied me. I was the first. I was the original. His shorts are too baggy. His legs were too stumpy. And I kicked more goals. Modra, he's in the country surfing in Adelaide. No one knows him. Vote 1. Warwick Freak Wizard Capper.
I'm going with Walker now.
Will you?
What about you?
I reckon both freaks off the field.
They probably were.
No, not probably.
Robbo, with thanks to Gatorade, who would you rather be? Can I ask you mine first to you? Who would you rather be? Nathan Buckley or Brenton Sanderson?
Brenton Sanderson? I told you I was going to pick you up. No, I'd go back to. I'd like to be coach of the biggest club in the country, and I would have mind playing a little bit like Bucks as a footballer as well. Who would you rather be, or what would you rather be? Whose hair would you rather have, James Hird or Fabio?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
Whose hair would you like, Hird's?
I think Hirdy's would probably.
Fabio?
Hirdy's would suit me better, but
I reckon.
Who would you rather?
Oh,
who would you rather?
Has he left this?
Yeah, he's left it behind. All right.
I reckon these are great, these
Time for us to leave everyone behind. We're back tomorrow night.
Ripper.
The bounce is next. Lots of fun ahead with the boys. Let's say good evening to Jason Dunstall.